Tonight on A New Breed of Golf, we're looking at holes 16, 17, and 18 at TPC Sawgrass. Teach you what you have to do to be successful down the stretch and how you can lower scores. Let's do this! Time to transform how you play par fives. It's time for our transformational tip presented by Morgan Franklin. So you're playing a par five. We're looking at the 16th hole here at TPC Sawgrass. For the players on tour, this is a driver and an iron. They're going to knock this on the green without a problem. For you, you get to a par five, and it may be one of those things where you have a decision to make. Am I going to be able to knock this on the green in two? Do I have to lay back? What am I going to do? How's this going to work? Well, what I want you to understand is when you get on this tee, you're standing right over here, you've got to make a decision. And that decision right away is, what do I want to do? Do I want to try to reach this in two? Do I want to try to get this in the fairway? So let's deal with that situation, because so many times you don't understand exactly what you're supposed to do in order to be successful here. So we stand on this tee. We put the tee in the ground and we start thinking to ourselves, wow, this is a par five. I'm going to knock this on the green in two. This isn't going to be a problem whatsoever for me. Well, that's not how you're supposed to go. What I want you to be thinking about is, am I going to give this the full Monty? Am I going to hit this as hard as I can to put myself in range? Or do I want to just get this in the fairway and see if I can make a birdie by making a putt, getting it up and down with a wedge? So when you get into here, you've got to understand what it is the approach that you're going to perform when you go into here. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that I just want to get this in the fairway. Well, now we go to the go-to shot. What's your go-to shot? Well, I'm going to hit a little bit of a cut. I might even grip down on this because I want to get this in the fairway. Maybe the rough is a little bit thick, whatever it is. So I'm going to grip down on this a little bit. I'm going to aim this down the left-hand side, and I'm going to make sure that I keep this club face a little bit open because I need to hit a little bit of a cut here. So when I take this a little outside, let the toe open in the backswing. That's going to allow me to start this down the left-hand side and hit a little cut shot. And you can see I didn't hit this as hard as I want to hit it. What I did was I hit it into the fairway, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. So when we come up here to the screen, what you can see is that wasn't my max. My ball speed was 144 there. That ball landed 230 and got out to 246. Probably not going to take that into the green for a second shot approach. What I can do, however, is I can hit whatever shot I want to hit because I'm in the fairway. Now, what we want to do is we want to go back to the tee again, and I want to re-tee this, and what I want to do is I want to hit a shot where I'm going to give it a little bit more, a little extra hit. Now, when we start paying attention to what we're going to do to hit it a little bit harder, what are some of the things that I need you to pay attention to? Well, one, I've got to make sure that I'm getting a full coil, and we're going to talk about the importance of that to help with tempo when we talk about what we're doing on 17. But right here, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we get that full coil. And then what I want to do is I want to make sure that as I'm coming through, I'm increasing my arm speed, I'm rotating my body, and I'm using the ground effectively. So get in here like this. And I'm a big fan of making a practice motion with intent, right? So when you get back here, we're going to get that full coil, and then we're going to start to feel that weight get into that lead leg, and then really move those arms. And this is all about arm speed. Ball speed there was 144. If I'm going to reach this green in two, I've got to get a ball speed that's well past 150, maybe 153, possibly even 155 right in there. And all that with got to get it in the fairway. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to favor the right-hand side. So when I hit this, if it draws a little bit, I get it into the fairway and I get this ball tumbling. Get set up like this. Get that lead shoulder just a little bit up into the air. That's going to help me create a little bit more of a coil. Now I need some arm speed. Good full coil and then some arm speed. All right, this is really, really good. Now let's see what we end up getting here. Ball gets hot in the fairway. Come on up here. Let's take a little peek at what we got there. So I put a little powwow into that one there. and I got that thing out to 271. That's obviously 30 yards past my little fairway finder. I also got that ball to turn a little bit to the left. 444 RPMs of left spin. What did that do? Got my ball speed up to 154. So now I'm in a situation where I've got to make a decision. Am I going to be able to go for this green in 2? Am I going to lay back? What are the things that I'm going to do? What I can tell you is this: when you start playing these par 5s, you've got to make a decision when you're on the tee of what is it that you're going to do. Am I going to get this into the fairway with my fairway finder and my go-to shot? Or am I going to hit this a little bit harder and give this a little bit of bang so that this ball is going out as far as I can? And when you start to do that, in order for you to create that extra distance, what I want you to be thinking about is getting that good full coil and getting that arm speed. And as you get the arm speed, you're going to start to get an increased ball speed, and you'll start to get a little bit more distance. That is our transformational tip presented by Morgan Franklin. So I'm in the fairway here on the 16th hole with TPC Sawgrass, and I've got to make a decision. I've got 233 yards to a back flag. It's time for a grip tip presented by Golf Pride. As we start to examine our situation, here's what we have. I've got my golf ball sitting right here on the top of the crest of the hill. This whole location is back here on the green. This green right there, according to my yardage book, is 35 yards deep. So I've got 35 yards in depth on that. And I've got 233 to that hole location. That hole location is probably about 5 paces from the back edge. So what does that all mean? Well, if I've got 35 yards in depth, I'm coming in 5 yards to 233. So now I'm at 233 to the front, to the hole location, and I'm probably about 233 minus probably 30 yards, because I'm 5 paces in from the back edge. So now all of a sudden, I've got a shot of 203 to the front. And what I don't want to do is hit it over. So that's the max that I can hit this, that I've got to carry it. And I've got 233 to the flag, which is the max that I can hit it. I'm not going to hit, I've got to get it in between 203 and 233. Now, that doesn't really seem like a lot except for one thing. You know what that one thing is? This little thing right over here that we call H2O is hanging out for us. So the question becomes, should I stay or should I go? Should I hit it or should I not? Well, you know what we have? We have a thing that we call a shot difficulty matrix. And this is the thing that I want you to rely upon as to whether or not you're going to hit a shot or you're not going to hit a shot. I want you to factor in 2 things. One, the difficulty to execute the shot. How hard is the shot itself? Is 233, is that a lot of club for you? Is it not a lot of club for you? Are you going to be hitting an iron or are you going to be hitting a wood? Is it a shape that you like? Do you like to move the ball left to right, or do you primarily move the ball right to left? And if you move it right to left, do you have to start it out over the water, and does that become a more challenging shot? So that's what we're looking about, difficulty to execute the shot. And then this is the penalty for the miss. In other words, if I hit that into the water, moving it from right to left, all of a sudden I've got to drop back here. If I move it left to right, now I get all that distance. So we have to factor in all these different things. What I want you to be aware of when you're thinking about your shot difficulty matrix is, we'll just use a light, just like your traffic light, red, yellow, and green. So if I'm in this green shot, I'm sort of a 3 in the execution, and I'm kind of a 2 in the penalty for the miss. I'm in a green light situation right here. I'm ready to go. If I'm a little bit harder and I'm in the yellow, now I've got my debate. Now it's situational for me. Am I trailing by a little bit? Am I leading by a little bit? Do I need to make a birdie here? Am I playing match play? Am I playing stroke play? How comfortable? All these different things you're factoring in. If I get to a point where I'm down in this area here, which is high difficulty to execute and high penalty for the miss, maybe there's a chance that it's going to go out of bounds. Maybe there's a chance that I'm going to end up in a hazard. Now I have to drop way back here and I have to drop in the rough. And if I'm in the rough, now I got to lay. You've got to think about all these different things. And when you start to think about these, it's going to paint this picture as to, should I hit this or should I not? Should I stay or should I go? So I'm 203 to that, and I'm 233. You know what that means? That's right. I'm going for it. Now, what I want to do is I want to make sure I don't hit it past 233. So that for me is going to be a hybrid shot. I can hit this thing, I can carry this in the air. about 210, and it won't get past 230 unless those greens are really, really firm, which I'm assuming they're not. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to play a little bit of a fade, because what I want to have happen is if I miss this shot, I want to miss this shot into an area where I can hit the ball onto the green and at least give myself a putt for par. And if I come off of this and it ends up into the water, now all of a sudden I've got a little wedge in my hand instead of staying back here and hitting a 160 yard or 170 yard shot. So we're going little hybrid down the left-hand side, and then we're going to play just a little bit of a curve, a little bit of a left to right shot. So I've got it going where I want. Did I cut it enough? I've got a little bit of a cut going on here. Oh yeah, and it released just exactly what I want. So look at what happened now. Come on up here, because this is what I told you that I wanted to do. I'm a little bit tight, right? I don't want to miss the shot. So I get a little adrenaline. I carried that thing about 217, had a little bit of right spin to it. Not a lot, but a little bit of right spin. Got that ball to go about 222, maybe 223. So I'm going to have about a 20 to 25 foot putt for the eagle. Now, here's what I need you to understand. This shot difficulty matrix. When we look at this board just like this, what you need to appreciate is when you add these numbers up, is this going to add up to more or less than 6? 6 is our number. When we're at 6, if I've got a 2 on the execute and a 3 on the penalty, that's going to be a 5. I'm good to go. Once I get to 6, 6 is where I get into this. I've got my caution out, not sure what I'm going to do. Once we're north of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's a 5 and a 5. Do not do it. That's when you have high penalty and high difficulty. Pay attention to the shot difficulty matrix, and what you're going to find is your decision making is going to be much better and your scores are going to come down. And that's a grip tip presented by Golf Pride. All right, I'm proving it, presented by Titleist. And I've been telling you, come in here. I've been telling you, this Friday, it's going to be here. The yellow balls. Let's do this. All right, now, we start to look at this 17th hole here. And when you stand up on this par 3, you stand up on any par 3 that's got water on it, your eye automatically goes to this water right in here. This is where your eye is seeing, and you're not seeing this target here, nor are you seeing a flag on this target. So what are we going to do in order for us to be able to be successful when we get into this position? Well, there's a couple of things. And one of the things that you need to understand is this golf ball is not going to curve a lot. It's just not going to curve much. So what we want to do is we want to be able to hit a shot and show you how much this isn't going to curve. I'm just going to aim this sort of at the middle of the flag, at the middle of the green here. Shot's about 140 yards. That's a 9-iron shot there. Now, I hit that in the air about 139. So good shot. Greg, do me a favor and just replay that. And I want everybody to see how much this ball does not curve. Because what you're going to see when this comes down, see, there's not much curve there at all. And the reason why is because I've got a very lofted club. This club is a 9-iron. There's not going to be much curve. So when we start to do this, what I want you to realize is that in order for you to be successful, you have to make sure you're focusing on the start line of the shot. And the start line is going to be key. Now, we got to make solid contact, which I'm going to get to in a second. And we've got to make sure we get a target out there, which I'm going to get to in a second. But the start line's critical. So we're going to have 2 targets when we play this shot. One target's going to be up there. It's going to be a high target. Let's say it's going to be one of those trees in the distance. And then the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure I get an intermediate target that's right on the line of my golf ball to the high target, that high tree where I'm starting the shot. So I'm going to get back here like this, pick my start line, which I've got there right at that. So I'm going to aim that just over that right there, that little spot. I get set up in here like this. And now all I'm going to do is just make my swing, and I'm going to get to this, what you're going to think about in a second. What you're going to see is that that start line is right at that tree. It's going to grab the center of the green there. Never brought anything into play. Greg, let's play that. Let's watch that one again. You can see how that starts right at that tree, comes down right on that tree. Again, not a lot of curve in that. Even though that had almost 1,000 RPMs of side spin, it really didn't curve much. That probably moved maybe 6 or 7 feet. It wasn't a lot. So you're going to get this start line. You're going to get that start line. That's what you, that target up there, that's what you're going to pay attention to. Now, here's what I want you to pay attention to now. How do we know what we're going to aim at? Well, a lot's going to depend on what you tend to do with your shots. Do you tend to curve it to the right? Do you tend to curve it to the left? If you tend to curve it to the right, then you're going to aim a little bit more to the left, and we never want to get this shot to the right of that flag. Ability level is going to be a big part of this. So what we're going to do is, now I'm going to move this in a little bit to the right, because for me, I can play this not quite at the flag, just a little left of the flag, and maybe just cut this just a bit. So I get my target. I got my intermediate target right here. Now I set into what I want to set into. Make sure I check all that. Now I'll make my motion. So I started that at that tree that's just to the left of the flag. And could have hit it a little bit harder, but still what you can see is that I didn't bring the water into play. I hit a solid shot there. Now, let's just say for the sake of argument that you hit that shot, you're trying to figure out, well, what is it that I need to think about? Well, what I want you to think about when you're standing over this, because you're nervous, because there's water all over the place. What I want you to think about here is making sure that you let your body rotate. Many people get on this, and you in particular, what you're doing is you're not getting the solid strike, you're not getting all the distance because you're frozen. What I want you to be thinking about is letting the body turn. So when I hit that shot there, it went 128 yards. I've got to get this thing to get to 138 yards. That's the shot that I'm trying to hit. I think the flag is at 139, so I need 138 out of this. So my body has to make this rotation in the backswing, and I'm going to be thinking about getting my back to the target. That's one of the keys to that successful rotation. So now I make that shot, and you can see how successful that is. That's right at the center of the green, exactly the way I want it to go. So now I want you to understand this third part. You're playing great, and you're a very talented player. Scratch, single digit, whatever it is. The water doesn't intimidate you. The whole location is comfortable for you. And maybe you're in a match play situation. You need to make birdie. We need to force something. So what are we going to do? Well, this is what we're doing. We're getting into this. We're going to focus on all the things we've thought about. The shoulders are going to make that good turn so my back is to the target. I've got my intermediate target between here and what I'm aiming at. And what I'm aiming over there is I'm aiming at a high target, the highest target I can get. So I'm going to pick a little piece of tree, maybe a leaf or a branch or something like that I'm looking at that's just above the flag. Start back here, get my intermediate target. It's going to be right there. Now I'm coming in. There's my intermediate target right there. Set that club face down at that spot. Make sure I'm lined up properly. Here we go. I don't have to worry about losing this to the right because all I got to do is make sure I hit this solidly and start it on the line I intend. Here we go. Oh yeah, solid shot there. Not a lot of curve. Kind of going right at the, whoa, wow, it went in the hole. Oh my God. Yo, oh, wow. Nice work. Yeah, drinks on you. Holy cow. Hey, Greg, you got to play that again. You got to play that again. 11 years I've been doing this, and I've never done this before. We took the flag out of the hole. Watch this thing with the tracer on. Bink, bink, right in the hole. Holy cow. All right, hold on a second. I got to calm down. It doesn't happen every day. In fact, I said 11 years I've been doing this, hitting into Sims. First time ever. Obviously very exciting. If you're wondering, it was a 9-iron. All right, so now let's wrap this all up so you understand. First, you're dealing with a club that's got a lot of loft. It's not going to have a lot of curve to it. So you don't have to worry about not being successful by missing the shot left or missing the shot right by curve. You've got to make sure that you focus on that start line, and that's where those two targets are going to come into play. So we're going to pick that high target in the trees back there, whatever it is, that's going to be our focal point, and we're going to use this target down in front of the golf ball, make sure we've lined up properly, maintain that target, and focus on getting that golf ball to go over there. And then, reminding you, the last thing you're focusing on is making sure you get that good full turn. That's going to help keep your tempo in order, give you that consistent distance that you expect and that you hope for. When you do that, well, you'll get something like that. And that, by the way, is proving it presented by Titleist. Time for our FootJoy fix, presented by FootJoy. The 18th hole at TPC Sawgrass is incredibly intimidating. Let's take a little look at this. From the tee down to the flag, what you can see is there's water all down the left-hand side there. You've got to be very careful with this tee shot, and you've got to move it from right to left. Then once you get to the elbow right here, you're still not done with the water because it's carrying all the way up to the green and into that bunker. You can see it to a green that is kind of narrow. There's your look. And when you look at it, you can see a lot more water than there is fairway. That is one of the big problems. Now, when you stand on this tee, you've got to make a decision. Am I going to move this ball left to right? Am I going to move this ball right to left? Well, what I can tell you is this. If you're one of those people that plays the ball typically left to right, and you get to a tee shot where you've got trouble all down the left-hand side, maybe it's out of bounds, maybe it's like this, maybe there's water, maybe there's some fescue or whatever, what I want you to do is I want you to go to the 3-wood. And when you start going to the 3-wood, you're going to straighten out that shot. You might even be able to turn that thing a little bit right to left. But mostly what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to aim into the fairway. So, a couple of little tips. One, when you tee the ball up, I want to see half of this golf ball above the crown of the club head there. So when we put it in, we make sure that we set it up, give a little peek to it, exactly at the height that I want it to be at. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my intermediate target that's going to take me down the right-hand side with that high target, and I'm going to employ a couple of strategies here to make sure that I get this ball doing what I want it to do. One of the things that I want to do is I want to move that ball back in my stance a little bit more. And the reason why is it's going to help get this path of this club to get out to the push side. So Gibbers, if you give me a shot where I'm down the line here in a camera 1, what you're going to be able to see is that as I move that ball back in my stance, the club's going to come down from the inside, which is going to help me get this ball to start out to the right-hand side. And when it starts to the right, now I'm in the fairway the whole time. Now I can go ahead and turn this ball right to left and not worry about this water that's down my left-hand side. So I get my intermediate target just like that. Get my setup position. And now ball position goes back, and all I'm doing is that same thought process. A little bit of turn and a lot of trust. Start that down the right-hand side, and now I'm going to make a little bit of a turn to this, and what you're going to see is because I've hit the 3-wood, I'm just barely in the rough, but the water was never in play. I never had a problem getting that ball into play. Let me go and show you what would happen if I had that driver. So I'm going to take the driver, tee it up here. If I hit that same shot, my ball's in the rough and well in the woods as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go, okay, this is not a great shot for me with a driver. I now have to play this down the left-hand side, and I've got to hit a fade. I've got a totally different shot. It's a little bit more of a defensive shot. I cannot hit this at all left. The farthest left this ball can get is right here in my aim. So when I go down here, I'm going to pick out a spot, that tree, and I'm going to make sure I cut this. And the hard part, and you're going to see this when I do this, the ball is now working against the curve of the hole. And when that starts to happen, I shrink the fairway down. It's a very challenging shot. Down the left-hand side here, got to hit a little bit of a cut. Here we go. Did I cut it enough? The answer is no. And that's one of the reasons why you're not going to hit a driver when you have these kinds of problems. What I want you to do, go back to the bag, get the 3-wood. When you get that 3-wood, what you're going to find is you've got a lot greater margin for error. You're still going to be able to get that ball out far enough to where you can reach the green in 2, but you're not going to put that pressure on yourself like I just had there. I didn't hit a bad tee shot right there. That golf ball only turned about 200 RPMs to the left, 200 RPMs of left spin. And that's not a lot, but you're asking so much from yourself. And when you hit it into the water, now all you get to do is move up to the front of the tee box and drop it from there. Not worth it. Get the 3-wood, and what I'm telling you is when you do that, you're going to find more fairways, you're going to gain more confidence, and you're going to lower those scores. And that is our FootJoy fix.